following announcement has been paid for by the Jackass Nation.
How y'all doing?
Hey, guys. Oh.
Grand.
Got it? We look good? Okay. So
am.
you just came
Go
from...
ahead.
Go ahead.
All right, okay, we're over here.
I was wondering if that's something you've ever, integrated into your acting or would like to.
My first job ever was a Australian TV series called Blue Water High, which is kind of like, it was very fun, a surfing show, and that was the first and only time that I've ever used my particular love of surfing.
Too bad.
Yeah. But I would love to, yes. Are you writing something?
What?
Are you writing something?
He's like, we got the script. Let's start here.
Let's talk.
So you're both coming from like the superhero world now into kind of some fairy tales here. Did you bring anything with that from you? You being a mutant on the run, you on the run with Jessica.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool because there's a foundation for both comic book series and fairy tale series. So just kind of having these storylines already in the back of your head and putting a new twist on them that the viewers aren't familiar with. That's always been my favorite part about doing superhero shows, and I think it's very similar with this show. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, coming from JJ into this, it's kind of similarly quite dark, and so there's no challenges there. The thing that I'm loving the most about the transition is actually coming from, like, New York is my city. I love this place, but Nashville has got me, man. I love that. I've been there 10 minutes and I'm like wearing a hat and saying,
I lived in Nashville for a little while.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
did y'all like ever go out to Broadway? I know you're singing in it. So
Yeah.
you go down to Broadway and check
Broadway.
out any of those open mics and whatnot.
Oh no, I'm keeping singing to this show. I love it, but let's see how it places in the show first, and then we'll see if I can do an open mic.
Broadway's a dope street, though. It's a lot of fun.
It's very cool. It's very hectic.
Yeah,
I was like,
it is.
oh my god, what's happening?
It was crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's like Cowboy Vegas.
Is country then your kind of music? Or?
You know what? It's not. I think on the show we kind of have like a.
I'm gonna be honest.
No.
It was a part of the job.
I'm not gonna lie about it. I mean, she's like kind of a country pop star, but I think that in the songs that we've been doing lately, we're kind of going away from the country as much. I like country music. I really like it. Not probably what I would personally
Caveat.
sing.
Disclaimer.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's cool to do the country element when you're in Nashville, though. I've been recording at studios with that Willie Nelson has been recording at. So being able to have that experience adds to my character so much, and just the mindset that I have going into the project.
Do you have the same pre-acting rituals, no matter what it is, no matter if it's a comedy or...
No, completely not.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, kind of. I love the research part for me is equal. Like, if
Yeah.
you're on a drama, I would love to do the research, dive in, understand who the character is. If he's playing a cop, like I am on this, understanding what that means, what training that person would have had. On Jessica Jones, he was a heroin addict. What is the detox process? What is, like, addict mentality? What's the psychology behind that? That part is the same, but like with a comedy, I mean, it's a completely different thing. Like you're trying to, it's a different skill set, really. And so yeah, no, the prep is different. But this has its funny moments, but I would definitely not call it a comedy.
Yeah.
Now, since you have such a nice large background of different variety of work, from Power Rangers to Malcolm, and I was just like, I remember I met you before AOL.
Like that? You're gonna do me like that?
We talked about it. It was like it went from Malcolm, it went from here.
I heard his question for Kevin.
Okay.
But I wanted to know, in terms of choosing those different projects, what do you feel has attracted you to this one? It's so different from the other ones. What is so interesting about Tell Me a Story?
I mean, they're all on this page, right? Yeah, like literally, I see who's involved in it. I watched the previous season. I thought they did a really good job with it. I knew Kevin was going to try and do something even evolve beyond what he did in the first season. And and then it's an anthology, which I haven't done before, which I love that format. It's kind of like the best of both worlds between the kind of film structure where you've got 2 hours to tell a story, you've got the full arc that I know and I can plan out, and a TV series which it kind of runs on, but you get like that real ability to do the character work and dive in.
Yeah.
Anthology, you get both of those things. So all of those things meant this was out the park. I was like, that one.
With this role, did you guys? I know as an actor, like you kind of learn different things about yourself with each role. Is there anything that you learned about yourself from doing this show?
I think, it's going to sound cheesy, but the basis of Beauty and the Beast, our storyline, is kind of finding beauty within, and that's super important in our characters.
And without, as we can also say.
Thank you. Screw you. You're making me blush. Just kidding. No, but I think that's always just a really good message to get out there and as much as possible. And I think that there's some things that my character says that I'm like, oh, that actually means something. And it's really hard to find scripts that have that kind of feeling after you read them that leaves you with this kind of worth that you give yourself.
Were you inspired by Joker? Because I noticed you have
The
a
Joker.
purple.
It's coming out soon. Yeah, for sure.
I just saw it last night.
You saw it last night? Oh, it's already out?
No, I saw a press.
I was gonna say.
It was.
You said just pulled out the press pass again.
Yeah. No, but it's crazy. It's good.
I like that though. That's what I'm gonna say today. It's my Joker look. Yeah, I like it.
You mentioned some funny moments earlier. I was wondering about freaky moments on set. Like certainly watching season 1, like pigs' heads and things were a bit weird. So for you, what was there? Was there any kind of moments you were thinking that was a bit odd, a bit gory?
Well, I go have like full body prosthetics that I have to put on. So it's kind of that thing where I will be screaming at myself doing something, and then I'll actually look at myself. I'm like, oh wow, you look scary. And I wear a mask on the show, so I'll constantly be walking around set, and I'm like, why are you looking at me like that? And then I'll remember I'm like halfly like burnt up and looking real scary.
Yeah.
That makes me wonder. So, in the process of coming from something like that back to your normal life, like, what's your sort of like token that you try to use to get out of your character and then jump back into your character for the next one?
Good question. For me, I'm a dad, and so I can't take that shit home, and so I have a very clear line that I draw between when I'm like in work mode and when I'm in family time with my people mode, and it's often for me like nature is always what it is. If I'm in California, it is surfing. If I can get in the ocean, I cleanse off, I deal with that. Whereas in Nashville, I don't have that, but it's like it's super green and lush and outdoorsy. I'll go and like be with myself for a minute and kind of clear that off, and then go home and.
So it's not like a trigger word,
Play
like
power
pineapples.
Rangers.
No.
No, trigger word, yeah. It's like, whoa.
For you?
I think it's really similar. I've been acting since I was so young that I have just this kind of it's kind of almost like a trigger word. There are certain like scenarios that I just put myself in before I start acting. Afterwards, I'm pretty good at just releasing it, but there are definitely like before we go out to work, like I'll just sit in my trailer and be like, this is what happened to you, this is why it compares to your real life. If this were to happen to your sister, like what are you feeling right now? And you just kind of like put yourself in the scenarios to really get for me, it's more about getting into it, but like more than getting out of it. But yeah.
So you place your family in the scripts?
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that, my family is the most important thing to me, so I kind of resonate. In this storyline, it's based on my family, so I put my real family in there. I'm like, okay, what if your sister talked to you like that? What if my mom was doing these things to me? And then I think that's how you kind of relate to your character.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like that. I think is the most important key, actually, with acting is understanding what it is, because like even though we're in superhero world or we're in fairy tale world, we're real people who are dealing with other real people, and that's what's interesting to watch. Like I'm not thinking about what the magical aspects of this are. I'm putting the real scenarios from my life and harvesting and utilizing my own life experience and trauma and joys and ambitions in order to service the character.
Thank you guys so much. I'm so sorry for interrupting.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Thank y'all so much.
The announcement has been paid for by the Jackass Nation.